Hello and welcome back to the Gamer's Tale. I am your Dungeon Master for the evening, Trent Gander. I am not joined by any of my co-hosts this week. Unfortunately, the Cool Cut Kid is probably off eating bugs in the woods or some such thing. He's going on a wilderness retreat or something like that, and will not be joining us. Internal politics on the back end of this actually made me think that perhaps this episode wasn't actually going to happen. I didn't want to contact Lee on such short a notice to get him on here. We will, however, be continuing on the Gamer's Tale, which I'm very glad to inform you, since there was a possibility that the show would be canceled, but it is not, and I am very glad to continue working on this. We'll talk about some news today, and I'm going to talk about fandoms and how they continue to affect gamers, and how hardcore. How would you say? Hardcore franchisers go with it. Specifically, things like Halo and Call of Duty and the recent actions. All right. There is a new RPG up on Kickstarter based off of Modest Medusa. It's called The Magical Land of Yeld. In it, you are a group of adventurers who have stumbled upon the magical world of Yeld, and you explore it, and also you hand off GM duties. So that one guy comes up with a thing, another guy comes up with another thing, and it's not only one of you holds all the power. It uses its own combat system based on pools of d6s, where you look at you look to roll better than your opponent whom you're attacking. It allows you to pick which hero and which monster you attack, and it has 28 days left until it's going to when they're working on their overage goals. Yeah, there we go. They apparently have been fully funded for their main thing, but they're just trying to get all they can out of it and work on things they want to do later. The next one is Ninja Crusade 2nd Edition. Is going to have a new source book called Empire's Reign. It's up on Kickstarter. The Empire's Reign shows the previously evil portrayal of the Empire. They show it their side, and they show their peacekeeping forces. They show their soldiers as peacekeeping forces instead of oppressors, compared to the normal Ninja Crusade. The clan the clan being played is chosen by your assignment. I might be getting it a bit wrong because my notes are a bit sketchy at the moment. They have new fighting styles, and it's hoping to get enough to do some overage goals as well. But I don't think they're fully funded. I think it was about a third. It goes off the concept of every story has a flip side to it, which I'll get to hopefully later on in the program. The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. It follows the book, or is based off of the book and the movie. I have neither seen nor read nor seen either. The game allows people to tell their adventures. And the thing is that no matter how wild your adventure is, it's assumed to be true. And it is true. There's 3 versions of the game that you can play. There's the adventures which happened during Munchausen's time, which I'm going to assume is, judging by the way he was dressed on the cover art, would be somewhere in the 1800s. So maybe late 1800s, so the time of expansion of the British Empire, and the misadventures within the Asian theater for things like the Opium War and Shanghai and all that really, really awesome political junk. Then you have the next one where you time travel to the time of S, Sindibit. I'm going to guess that's some sort of either Far East or pirate time. And the third one allows people to go to Relia and galaxies far, far away, and similar science fiction stuff. So you can tell a tall tale about meeting Han Solo, drinking a beer in the cantina right before he is talked to by Greedo. But that is pretty much the gist of the game. So pretty much it's as big a line of BS as you can spin into it to show that just how awesome you are. I actually know some guys tell the craziest stories that are actually true. So you get to live vicariously through your own imagination in this game. And it plays on our own mental machinations and our own hopes and dreams, which I will get to now, is how do the fandoms, the people who really love franchises and then are disappointed with how they turn out, why do they occur? Why do we get so attached to a certain gaming style or uh, a certain panache, a certain mystique of games? Why do we? How do those affect us, and how do they affect the industry? Well, I always like knowing the two sides of every tale, like in the Ninja Crusade RPG with their newest one coming out. It's until I read some of the books, which you probably would find out if you watched episode 7. Uh, Star Wars was always black and white until you got into the extended universe and the expanded universe, where you got to see sides of Darth Vader that weren't portrayed on screen, or because of how Darth Vader was portrayed on screen, you wondered how would it be to work for the Empire, and be a stormtrooper following Vader's commands or working on the Death Star. Well, obviously, in the movies, working on the Death Star is a very bad career choice because, it blows up twice. But in other respects, like series like Halo, when it first started back in, I think it was 2000, with Microsoft, when it was still on the Xbox, when it was just the Xbox, and had really crappy graphics. The great story that they had, and I guess we'd say the believability and the moldability of John 117 drew people in to the Halo franchise. And they did really, really well. And from that, they created really a new generation of player versus player with the first-person shooters and the really awesome maps in Halo 3 and beyond. My personal favorite is Halo 3 because I've actually played it, and I've told probably 2 to 3 most of the stories that have occurred in my adventures in Halo 3. But it allowed people to experience something that they weren't usually able to do. They could fight other players, but it wasn't as like the main storyline where you were forced to be Master Chief and save the planet and people from the invading aliens and make deals with the Covenant and help the Sangheili fight it out against the usurpers of their position within the Covenant. It was less geared toward a set storyline. So in Halo 3 and stuff like that, allowed people to branch out and really use those games as a template to create characters for themselves. Not even fully fledged out characters like some RPGs do, but they still allowed like the customization of it. So like in the battles, you could tell who was who. Much like how it was in medieval times, where they would have specific coat armor and specific groupings and colors and stuff. It's like, okay, that crest right there is the symbol of Turlegs or something like that, like Game of Thrones heraldry things. They allowed people to create customized characters to use their own play style, but to do so in such a way as to not include. Uh, it includes personal details like personal choice on what colors you want your Spartan to look like, or even if he is actually a Spartan and not a Sangheili. Uh, or elite, as they are normally called. But it allowed you to have a bit of personal bit in the game, and it spawned a whole fandom to it, even in a spin-off in Rooster Teeth's show Red vs. Blue. They took the machinima state of animation in television, for lack of a better term, and they turned it into this really great in-depth story. Originally just about dudes talking crap to each other and hanging out bored out of their skulls in an iconic map from Halo. And then as it's developed fully more, the characters got a little more fleshed out, and they behaved more in line with each other and had their own special roles within the groups. And you actually grew, they grew and you grew as time went on. And I still love Red vs. Blue, and I'm glad that they're having season 14, I think, has come out. 13 or 14. And it all started with Microsoft creating Halo and people loving it so much. And so, you know what would happen one day if we just like stepped in the lives of these guys who were playing? What would they be doing? Similarly, as it became a little less, but the concept of creating a character who is a character of himself but behaves in a certain way depending on how the player chooses to is not new. Originally, it was, in my opinion, The Legend of Zelda that started it all. Back in the 80s, 90s, in the protozoa era of handhelds, and the kind of golden age of early Nintendo consoles, you had Link. And I remember reading this really in-depth analysis of Link and how he was such a great character. Because in all the games of Legend of Zelda, the main character is Link. The used to be traditionally male, either young man, 12 years old sometimes, I think. I guess how old he was in like the first one. Ranging from this small boy to this teenager to early 20s guy, running around, being the hero, controlled by the player. But what was magical about Link was that while he had substance and he was a character and he could be defined and described as only being Link, he was also a blank canvas. Like in my favorite one I continue to play, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. You can decide how you play things. It's not like you have to use this weapon, you have to use that, except for in boss battles, yes. Some bosses are weak to specific things, but you can do things and do the adventure how you want it to be. It's not like you have to follow, you're like a little train on a track, a toy train, having to go around the tracks and follow a certain path, and it has to be done in a certain way. No, I will tell you that many a time on my replays of Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, instead of rescuing Zelda first, I checked the treasure chest in the cell next to her and loot that before ever going in and checking to see if the princess is all right. I go in and I check to see for the loot first because I know the princess is going to be fine because it's Zelda. But that allows you to. Their point in the article, at least, was that you can explore yourself through Link. The Link is still a solid character, but yet blank enough for you and your playstyle to shine through him. Like when I played my cousin let me play Twilight Princess. To let me play on his account, it's like okay, and he said, "Hey, watch this." He made Link, not Luke. He made Link drink a full bottle of bee larvae just because, hey, look, he'll do it. It's like okay. If that was his real life, Link would be I guess you'd say, a survivalist eating grubs and bugs and stuff like that. But I wouldn't have chosen to have Link do that, like eating the worms and things like that, because I just don't feel good about doing that. That's just kind of gross, in my opinion. Uh, or you could choose how you would fight it. That one you can ride a horse. You can choose the name of the horse. It still doesn't change the fact that in the game, Link has a horse. And you can still fight the same monsters, but you choose how to fight that monster. You can use the hook claws, I think I call the dual-handed version of the hook shot, with a grapple device on the end, like a hand. Or you can decide to use the Master Sword, or a bow and arrow, or explosive bows and arrows, and any combination of things. And a similar concept can be found in Call of Duty, especially the ones starting with Modern Warfare and on. They allowed for level of customability, customizability of your weapons within that game, so you can tweak it just right the way you yourself want it, and not like okay, Bubba over there, he likes to have the Scar H or the Tavor, and he likes to have a suppressor and a red dot sight on it all the time. Weapons, if you want to have a suppressed one that also has a grenade launcher attached to it, you can choose to do that. That's why you are allowed to customize, and that's why I personally like customization, because I can tinker around, find what works for me, find what I prefer. And to a certain extent, this is found in a lot of the modern firearms-related games, shooters, third person, first person, whatever you have, top downs, browser games. They allow you a level of customizability that creates your character to be your own. And so it gets a personal attachment to the game. And if someone messes with that attachment, you or whoever else who's more attached to the game don't like it. I haven't tried any of the new Call of Duties, but from what I've seen, they're pretty much covered in like paintball splatter and rockin' looking psychedelic paint jobs all over the place, which really have no, for me, practical purpose on the battlefield. But allow people to have these god awful skins on their weapons and fighting it out because, hey, this looks cool. This isn't a realistic situation. It's not really a military simulator. But you can choose to and not to have a weapon, such as that I don't know if you can have a very like plain black gun or something in the newer Call of Duties. But it allows you to customize it and make it your own. There are videos of people using throwing knives in Call of Duty with such accuracy that they're hitting people on the other side of the battlefield. It's like godlike abilities. But maybe someone doesn't want to use throwing knives or tomahawks or whatever they have in the different variations of Call of Duty. But they also have guys who sneak around and do only melee. And they also have guys who only swear by the shotgun or live by the assault rifle or do this, do that. There's little phantoms within phantoms, and it's like a nesting doll of personal preference and remedial control. What they use is each person's strive and need to be moderately individual within a parameter of, for lack of a better term, society. It deals with Halo had a very large shot in Halo. I keep having these screenshots of the game in my head, and I keep thinking Halo. But Call of Duty had a major shock in its culture when they switched to the newer ones with all the weird sliding, power jumping, and wall running, which I will admit, those are cool. You can do a lot of interesting stuff with those things. It reminds me a bit of Super Smash Brothers, now that I think about it, in the way they're using in some of the maps that I've seen. but it takes away from what used to be Call of Duty, which was just moderately realistic. Yes, it takes place in the farther future, and it takes place with stuff that we're seeing uh, becoming more prevalent today, such as drones and such. But originally, it was you're a dude in the trenches. Here's your grand or Garen, depending on how you just want it. Go fight you some Nazis, or go fight you some Japanese imperialists during World War II. And whether it be 1945 or 1944, whenever you start, that's what it used to be. Then it transitioned to, okay, we're going into the war on terror. We fight the Russian terrorists in No Russian, or we go undercover as Russian terrorists in No Russian, more likely, or actually, and it goes on like in Modern Medal of Honor. It goes against the not so clearly cut, defined war as World War II. Nazi Germany was clearly a threat in World War II, and people decided to go to war and stop the expansionness of fascist Germany and fascist Italy and imperialist Japan. And they got into the more murkier depths in modern Call of Duties of uh, terrorism and modern invasion forces and things like that. I think that was Modern Warfare 3, where Russia invaded New York. Yeah. But they deal with the modern battlefield, and maybe people want that. They want to feel close to things that are truly probably quite horrible in reality, but they don't understand that because they haven't experienced it, so they want to experience it so they have a better understanding, since a lot of people are coming back with PTSD and all sorts of maladies of the mind and of the body. So people see what is it like. I don't actually want to go over and get shut up myself, but I still like to get a better understanding of what it's like. And people are normally, in my experience, they are naturally violent because humans are a predatory species. But I digress. They enjoy the competition between other humans. It's deemed safe, or moderately safe today, to do so. It's not as frowned upon in some things as modern sports are, but it's for me. It's just good old fun. Yeah. Anyway, people use it to escape. So if their life is boring, they go to play a game that's really, really exciting. And if they use that to escape, and you mess with that escape, don't be surprised if someone flips out at you or doesn't buy your products if you have messed with the formula that made you great and decide, you know what, let's try something different. Now I know there's always a way for advance in the modern video game eras, and you always have to get better and better and better. People are expecting more graphics, better gameplay, better storyline, better weapons, more realism, stuff like that. And we see that in the major conflicts between Battlefield and Call of Duty, where Call of Duty goes near future, almost Halo era, which a lot of people I know refer to it as Halo Light because of all the weird crap they put into it, compared to Battlefield that's gone backwards and creates something similar to a military sim with Battlefield 1, going back to World War I. Back to a time when, I guess you say, fighting was fighting, and fighting ain't fair. Because trench warfare was some of the bloodiest warfare seen, outside of Vietnam and possibly Korea in the Great War. It was called the Great War because of the massive amount of people who fought in it and died in the First World War. So that's a pivotal point in human history. If people want to go experience that or experience something close to that, because honestly, probably isn't that accurate, especially with not having weapons fail and people being cut down and thrown to shreds and things like that. But people don't like their the mess that they make in games, to be messed with. If they figured out a formula, much like how I kind of have a formula now for mining gold in RuneScape. If they don't want that to be messed with, if someone comes along and messes with it, there's going to be a backlash, no questions, because it's become part of them. That's personalized to a point where it's actually an extension of yourself. I remember talking with Kieran, I believe it was two or three podcasts ago. We were discussing the soulfulness of a weapon. That the samurai viewed a sword to be an extension of themselves, so they made their own. I believe some European knights view that the same way, and a lot of people today should view weapons to be the same way. It should be an extension of yourself. But there has to be a certain disconnect between the use of the extension of yourself and it being a tool. A tool is an extension of yourself, but I put so much emphasis on it being an extension of myself. I don't want it to be harmed or improved. And sometimes things have to be deconstructed and reconstructed in order to improve them. And sometimes they totally screw it up, like with modern warfare. What is it? Advanced warfare? Yeah. Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. They tried to, we're going to make it as influential as it was in Modern Warfare 2 and 3. And they tried it kind of a bit with Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 1. So we're going to take a new direction, and we're going to make Advanced Warfare. It's like, okay, this. They tried too hard to make something cool. They tried so hard to make it better, make it edgier, make it great, that they failed. I haven't played any of the games, so I'm just talking from my armchair. But the view of these games seem, while it is part fantasy, it's more moderate science fiction with advanced warfare as we continue to advance our own weaponry and our own technology in the modern era. They've taken it to a place where we haven't yet gotten, though we're heading there. But they've done it in such a way as to make it not the grit and the gritty battle of Modern Warfare 2 and the awesomeness of that whole little franchise within the franchise. It lost that gritty reality in Advanced Warfare. It was dudes kitted out in heavy gear with realistic guns. Now you're fighting with dudes painted like gumball machines with guns painted the same. They are kind of like modern ones, but they're kind of sci-fi'd up a bit. They use a similar but the same thing that's going to stay on battlefields since the beginning of time. The end of time is the blade. They're still going to have a knife somewhere on there. It's still probably going to be used as a melee attack for a long, long time. Anyway, I'm glad I named this the ramblings of something along the lines of ramblings of a lonesome host. So this is just me in an echo chamber going, oh, what about this idea? What about this idea? Why do we do this? Why do we do that? Why do we choose to play games that go either parts all the way to the future where it doesn't really matter how accurate we are, but then try to go to the past and make it passively accurate, but get mad when some people who actually care about how accurate it is get mad at us when it doesn't use correctly. Now, if you made it so that it was like official. Like this is a spoof game. We're gonna have aliens driving tanks in World War One or World War Two. Okay, if that's the premise of the game, yeah, fine. But people don't like it when it's like, okay, we're set in World War Two or we're set in World War One, and hang on, let me put my laptop down in my biplane as I'm flying around. It's like, okay, this is not realistic. Which, speaking of biplanes, reminds me of War Thunder, which I have not played so long. I want to play so bad because 1.6 Victory March 1.61 is coming out either now or very soon. They have upgrades to tanks, planes, all sorts of little tweaks and stuff. They've made some changes to some of the early planes so that they're more survivable, and they have better offensive capabilities, and they have more tanks, cooler tanks, awesome stuff like the use of the Tiny Tim rocket that's used against ships, and all sorts of Mondo Coolio stuff like that. The only problem is this computer doesn't. I should check it, but it probably still doesn't play very well with Monarch or what's it called? War Thunder. But what I have been playing has been getting back into RuneScape, and also all the surprisingly large amount of RuneScape devoted Facebook pages about memes and all that sort of junk. Training up my level 62 to character that's been around for 10 or more years. I had to change the password finally. It's been the same one for like 10 years, but for some reason it didn't seem to like be registering when I put it in, so I put in a new one. No, I will not tell you what it is. But anyway, another thing I've been playing is SAS4. That's been fun. Getting a lot of high-end gear, stuff like that. In SAS4, you have 3 levels of gear. There's regular, there's black, there's red, and there's black. The black ones cost a crap load to actually feed with ammunition. Some of the normal ones, and especially the red ones, cost a lot, but they put the output of damage is worth the cost. So when you start out, you're only making like 2 to 3 grand a mission. And then you get to level 35, I think it is. And then you can make, if you're good, and if you get dragged along by a really powerful upper guy, or you are the really powerful upper guy, you can make 2 million, 1 to 2 million per mission. It pays most, apparently, to go to the ice station. But a lot of people don't like it because it's really long and there's zombies all over the place. But that game actually really helps you with your fears because when you first start out, they throw regurgitators at you as bosses, which are these really huge dudes who like puke zombified eels, and they attack you. That's your first set of bosses. Then they add mechs that are zombified somehow. They explain that in the game. And then there's the giant ape-like things. I forgot what they're called. Behemoth, I think. Something along those lines. And Wickers, which are giant burning demons, or demonic zombies that throw flame at you, and when they die and throw flame at you, still try to burn you to death. Man, it's a pain, especially when they're really, really, really like a nightmarish savage Wicker dies and like you get grazed by a fireball and burst into flames and go down. It's really great to have a team at that point. So someone's going to stay alive. Somebody. It's just not me because I'm like mid-level and don't move as fast as other people. But what else was I saying? Oh yeah, some of the damage output for these things is getting ridiculous. Like I used to think a basic weapon that could do 500 DPS or damage per shot was awesome. Now going into nightmare modes and things like that, higher end competition, it's like this thing better have like 700 to 800 damage, either baseline or somewhere around there, somewhere around 1,000 per shot. Otherwise, this is not going to be working. I've encountered one. The latest one I got was shotgun, I think it was, does almost 3,000 damage per shot. It only has 10 shots in the whole thing, but I guess that's something. But still, you probably get most of the population in the SAS4 realm doing stuff with that weapon. Yeah. Eh, there's a crap load of things out there in the video game world I could talk about, but I feel no inclination. I didn't research them. Uh, the whole phase, it's not a phase. The whole Star Wars, The Force Awakens debacle and stuff like that is fueling Disney's sales of things. There's an RPG out for The Force Awakens, so I'm sure some poor nerd is going to spend his hard-earned money on that. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't feel like the need to buy it. It looks like it'd be a fun game. I like Star Wars. But the extent of my like of Force Awakens obviously clear for anyone who's listened to me on the episode 66 Dear Diary for Diary of Sith Chick, or last week. Yeah, that was a very long rant. Which brings me to another thing about the fandom. If executed correctly, you will create a fandom for whatever game or product you have. And that is awesome. That people make such great content that people want to continue to have it always go on and go on and on and on and on. But then it eventually kind of wears out for people who use or they love Halo. I haven't seen much stuff on Halo 5 or on Halo 4 and stuff like that. I haven't seen gameplay. It looks fun. It looks pretty much like Halo has solidified itself within its combat style and within its player versus player quite well. They've added a few things like assassinations and coolio melee attacks. But, yeah. I think Call of Duty, they had found their niche, but when they changed hands between the different producers were, I really don't care. When they changed hands between producers, they kind of lost that niche. And the diehard fans of the franchise, oh, it's Call of Duty or nothing, will continue to do so, and will continue to play, and I wish them all the good. But other people, like people who play Battlefield or nothing, are going to criticize, and they're going to complain, and they're going to like the stuff that they like, and people are going to like different things. So you yourself have to find your own favorite niche and of style of games, and you have to deal with other people who want you to like their niche, but if you don't, will still shun you. I play pretty much most games. I do dislike it in Black Ops when they took away my throwing knives, because I was really good with those. I did not like the tomahawk. The tomahawk angered me. But, yeah. It looks like pretty much to be a gamer, it's a really great time to be alive. We have stuff like For Honor. We have stuff like the various versions of Halo and Call of Duty. Though Medal of Honor has fallen off the radar, which is what I normally play on my old console. We have new things like The Division. I should get someone on here to talk about that who's actually played it. I know several people who have. And, yeah. Other than that, there's a lot of things out there. Whether you want a nice, quiet game like Minecraft with its crappy graphics, I still don't get that. You want to play Minecraft and viciously pillage people and burn down their houses in game, that's up to you. I personally prefer taking up arms and going against hordes of zombies or hordes of other players, having an all-out battle instead of trying to build crap and then have it be destroyed, because that's just a pain in my ass. Either way, it's been about 40 minutes, I'm going to say. This is going to be kind of truncated since there's no other hosts on tonight. So, if you like this, Follow us on Facebook. You can contact me on Twitter or follow me on Twitter at Gent de Irreverend. That's capital G, lowercase e, N, T, D, E, capital I, R, R, V, E, E, N, T. That's Echo, what is it? Echo Victor, Echo November. For the last part, there is no T. It's the first part of irreverent, or it's mostly of irreverent, but it has no T. So spell that, put it as whatever it is. Follow me there. Check out my blog, The Gentleman's University of Manliness at WordPress.com. Find out a bunch of awesome stuff, like a song, like Dear Diary, like Diary of a Sith Chick. Pretty much go out there, enjoy life, have a great time. And since I have not been able to find the audio for the intros and outros for the show, you're just going to have to imagine it's happening, and we will no longer be on Podbean because of some behind-the-scenes issues, mainly funding. We'll no longer be on Podbean. We'll find us possibly on YouTube, but mostly the Facebook page because we'll post videos to that, and follow us there primarily. Message us there if you have any questions. And have a great day. Lights fade out, and the music starts to play.